Hi, welcome everyone. As you can see from that video, things are going to be a little different with this interview. And I'm happy to welcome Anders Astrand to this live broadcast. Anders is an amazing improviser and tremendous creative energy. He has creations like that, marimba bars hanging from a string with a beautiful natural background. So this is a really unusual interview. I shouldn't say unusual, exciting and different. So let's bring on Anders Åstrand from Sweden. Welcome, Anders.
Thanks, Keith. Hey, nice to see you.
And Anders and I are very good friends, so it feels kind of strange to interview you because we've done so many things together and we're such good friends. But it's going to be a fun thing we're doing here. So, Anders, tell me about that video. How did that come about?
This is at where we have our summer house. It's an island called Gotland. So if you look on the map, you have Sweden, you have Finland, the Baltic Sea, and there is some islands. And Gotland has a long history back. Anyway, so on the back of the house, my dear friend Thomas Bolin, who's a sound engineer as well, he loves to do things with wood. So he helped me to build a deck some years ago. Back of the house, and then we have some leftovers. I said, "Hey, let's make some marimba bars." So they've been hanging there, and I'm thinking, So I was there last week and opened the house for the summer, and I was thinking, this would be great. So nice opening, and very good sound, right, with the mallets.
So they're actually not. They are marimba bars, or are they?
No, I mean, he just sort of copy how a marimba bar looks. So it's wood that you use when you build a deck. I don't know what the English one. Yeah. So, and they change the tuning every year because the weather changes.
Well, it's really I'm so excited to talk to you about all these amazing projects you do. And I mean, you are considered a percussionist, a fantastic improviser, and a composer. I mean, you just kind of cover so many aspects of percussion. It's just amazing. I mean, where do you find your inspiration from? Like, where are these creative ideas and thoughts? We're going to see some of them today, but tell me where these come from and how they come about. Where do you think of them?
I think part of it, as you know, is in the percussion world. Everything we get that other people don't play, we play it. And part of it was in the 80s when I played a lot of chamber music, when they wrote these big, huge pieces, and where you should work with glass or water or whatever. I think we work, all of us, especially if you work maybe more in chamber world, that we need to work with sounds. So we are very creative. You need to be creative. And I also been composing a lot or recording a lot for theaters and so on. So, and where the composer come in and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. Can you do it?" And it's like, there is no music. So you just need to be like in the moment creative. Then I was teaching many years up north, and I got hired from a lot of different winter festivals. So you play on ice instruments or you play on fiderets or whatever. So you just, and I've always been interested to see what different sounds can come from. I mean, a bike can sound incredible, a sink in the kitchen. Yeah. So I think it comes from that excitement. Plus, when I started play piano as a young kid, my teacher was constantly, improvising behind me with different sounds and so on. So I think it been a natural way.
Yeah. It just, the creative energy was around you at such a young age. Yeah, I could see. Did you say an ice instrument?
Yeah. So if you teach up north, like Maurice Palter did as well up in Alaska, they have a lot of winter festivals. So we found there was two brothers, and they made ice instrument just like, you know, it could be, for example, they made an ice box and then they make bars, like marimba bars or something, and then you put the microphone in the ice box because it's very fragile and you cannot play so loud, but you can play with kind of regular mallets. And then so he made one instrument like that. He made some chimes, some big blocks, and so on. Then we just improvised and see what different sounds we could find. So
Wow.
at the most I had 6 players, and one time we did a show where there was a stage built on snow, like 30 meters long, and on the sides there was balconies, so we couldn't see each other. It was 4 balconies. So I had one balcony above me, etc. So we were players in all the balconies, and then I had headset and a mic, and I was singing rhythms, and the other just follow me with these sounds. But it's the sound of ice is sort of between glass and wood, to describe it in a way.
Wow.
Ice is and it's cold. It was like 30 below, and you're standing like, you know, but you have all this snowmobile outfit and so on. So it was great.
It's just, I thought you did say ice. Okay.
Yeah. And it's very common. We have this ice hotel up in a place called Jukkasjärvi up north in Sweden. There have been people who building different kinds of ice instruments and so on.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know this. It's just fascinating. I mean, your life and all the things that you do and improvisation. Tell me about, like, the improvisation started when you were a kid, when you were a child, and then I mean, I'm curious, would you consider yourself a jazz improviser, or tell me where's your inspiration for improvisation, and what do you consider yourself, Anders?
That's a very good question, and because I know I'm connected as a vibe player, and many times, you know, it is when you're connected as a vibe player, you're a jazz player, and I play jazz absolutely, but I don't really see myself as like the jazz guy. I've always been. I want to say like this. I grew up in a situation where one day you play timpani in the amateur orchestra, next day you play drums in the big band, and next day you play in a small chamber group, whatever. So music is music for me. I've never been like, this is this typical style of that. So, and I feel lucky about that, because no one really said, oh, you can only play this, or that. Like, they just took for granted that you can play drum set or you can play timpani or whatever it is, and I've been teaching that way as well.
Yeah.
And very early on, my first gig as a drummer, after, like, you know, try to figure out how to play, I play with the old guys and we were playing the Dixie band, and I said, so what are you going to play? You will hear. So I never got any information. It was like just trying to figure out what to do. And I know I'm not the only one who's been in that situation. But then I played also with musicians where they just take for granted that you can do stuff, and it could be on anything. So I think that's part of it. So for me, it's improvisation is, I think, it's a very good tool as well to learn about music, because you can get your freedom, and it's a good way to figure out sounds. And I think everyone, especially in the percussion world, is almost improvising every day, because we always try to figure out different sounds and all that stuff. So, yeah. And I think the word is sometimes so connected with the style. So when you say improvisation, many people think, oh, that means vibraphone, and then it means that you play jazz. Yeah. Happened to me many times when I asked that question. When I say vibraphone, what do you think? Oh, jazz. I said, can you play the medieval music? It's like, no. I said, music is music. So.
Right. Yeah.
I hope that was a good answer.
Yeah. Well, I think in the percussion world, we tend to pigeonhole ourselves and what kind of percussionist we are. Are you this? Are you that? So, I mean, and we have a great video coming up. Absolutely beautiful, an improvisation, and this is some work that you did. And, well, you know what? Let's just hear it, because it is absolutely gorgeous, and then you could tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you.
When we were looking through videos and I heard that, tell me about that. When it's an improvisation, again, so were you working with chord changes or because I don't know anything about that and the guitarist?
No, this was actually, I try to be quick here so it's not a long story, but Donald, the guitar player, he lives in Quito, Ecuador. So I was down in Quito, Ecuador with the Dave Samuels, and we were down there and played on a festival hosted by Carlos Alban. And then I met Donald and I said, how about if we just go out in the studio, you and I, and just improvise in one evening? So we went to the wonderful marimba player, Pablo Valareso, who was timpani player in the Quito Symphony, and a good marimba player plus guitar player. And this is his marimba in his house in the basement. He has a studio. So we just borrow his studio. And we spent, 2 hours and just improvised. We didn't say a word to each other. We just started. So this is one of, probably the first one, number one. And Donald is like outstanding player. And you just try to go from what you feel and what you hear and what so it was a really magic evening for many reasons. Of the fact as well, it was sort of Dave's probably last professional gig before he really took off in Alzheimer. So just to give that short story, because that I had so many things going on in my head, I think, that time. Mm-hmm. We played at the jazz club with Carlos Trio, and Dave was like this all the time until he was with the instrument. And I told the guys, I said, and he just got diagnosed that time, and then I said, Anders, I have blah 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 Alzheimer's. I understand. So, and I saw that coming. Anyway, so we gave Dave the best evening ever, which this result was that the club owner was filming the whole evening because it was totally magic, and I never seen Dave be so free and play, and we had so much fun. So I felt very, very, and I think this was 2 nights later. So all of us were sort of flying on a little things, what happened, those things. So yeah, so it was special.
Wow. And what struck me when I initially saw it was the production of it. It's like the color of it. Mm-hmm. I guess it matches the mood, but was that something you thought about? Or?
No, it was actually Donald. Donald just took up his camera, and so we are sitting very close to each other, and there is no kind of, what do you call it, screens or anything. So I need to be kind of soft and nice. And so we were very close, like before Corona, so we can really sit very close to each other.
Wow. So just to clarify, so there's no chord changes, there's no structure to it. It's just you improvising and being creative.
Yeah, there is. I think we played one song Donald brought something, so maybe it could be one of the improvisation. I don't remember, to be honest, but the rest is totally just start and see what happens.
It's just so beautiful. I just
thank you.
Absolutely loved it, and there's several of those. I think I saw 2. There might be more on YouTube. So anyway, and then we talk about some of the other things. We saw the marimba bars, with the hanging from a string, and then you've done some amazing creative projects. This one, I have to say, I'm not sure. I think we should maybe talk about it first. But this is crazy. You're on a boat playing.
Oh.
Oh, you didn't know where I was going with it.
No.
You're on a boat, and tell me how you found the inspiration for this. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Now I'm with you. So yes, so my brother collects old boats, and in Swedish the motor name is 10 kule motor. I found the English name today, but I don't remember it. We can probably send that later on. But it's go online and search for it to people to see this if you're interested. But the motor, when you started it, you need to heat it up first. And then when it starts, like dum, 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 and different speed did different beats. So I always been thinking, I should bring the drums.
Okay, so you heard the boat motor, and then you said, I should bring the drums.
Yeah, and I did
That's where I just find you incredibly special, because I would think that sounds like a boat motor, but you, of course, say I should bring the drums. Yeah, you're a very special person, Andrew.
You think so? But I think if you're a percussionist and you go with this boat, you cannot resist how groovy it is. And this boat, I know what video you refer to. It's not so big motor, and then there is one who's a really big motor, and that's my next project. I will actually bring the vibraphone down in that, because it can almost sound like a bass line sometimes, that motor.
Okay. I mean, it's just incredible. So this video is you on a boat, am I?
Yeah.
And you brought the drums on the boat.
Yeah.
And I hear it.
There's, just to give you a heads up, in the front you will hear another drum. There's my friend Rolf Landberg, who is standing with a marching drum. But you would not see him, but he's with me as well and playing. So we are two drummers in the boat.
Okay.
So
here we go.
Welcome to my world.
And what's great about that video is, when you stop playing, you can really hear the boat.
Yeah, it's and one of I think it was 2005 or whatever. But my brother found this old fisherman. He lived in his house where he grew up with no electricity, no water, etc. But his boat was also older than him with a bigger motor, and that was my first thought about when I took a snare drum and recorded with him. And so we spent a day, and I said, "Can you go different speed? Like, stay in this speed for 2 minutes," and then it's like next. But the thing was, he was the most relaxed person I ever met, and I'm thinking. And not only him, a lot of fishermen. And I'm thinking, why? Because when you have that motor and every day you have a nice groove. I mean, that's a meditation, right? So yeah, so that's very much what happened when you start to hear these different grooves. It's like, yeah, this is groovy, you know. So
who's driving the boat?
It's a good friend of ours, or my brother has a lot of friends, so it's his little boat, and so my brother is going in another boat in the front because we did some other videos as well at the same time. So we met actually a taxi boat with a lot of ladies been out and had a party, and they were drinking wine, and I kind of waving and playing, and then think like, oh, we have been drinking too much. You know?
So did anybody, where you were riding in the lake, you were in Sweden,
yeah,
and did anybody see you?
Yeah.
Did you get any odd looks? Like you see, I mean, I'm just thinking if I was on a lake and I saw a boat go by with somebody in the front playing drum set, and I mean, it's a little unusual, Anders.
It is. This is where I grew up in this sort of south of Stockholm in archipelago. So
yeah.
I think they are used to a lot of different crazy things. So of course, the people are looking, but it's more like, okay, here we go again. Like I think it's more or less.
Well, it's wonderful. And the next clip we have is recent, really recent. It's a clip with an instrument I think you referred to as a stickophone. Is that what?
Yes, stickophone.
All right, tell me about this. Tell me about the stickophone.
The stickophone. The idea came when I visited the factory, Vic Firth factory up in Maine. Let's see, there we go. And again, I asked Thomas, the first video, who built the bars, and I said, "Can you make a stickophone like a xylophone?" Because I'm not too good hands craftsman with this stuff. So they sent me a lot of sticks, and then you can see there are different sizes. So he cut them and tuned them. So that means you get. So what I do a lot of, to sound really good, you do close miking. So it's a xylophone made of sticks, and it's a beautiful sound.
You know, I'm sorry if I keep asking. Like, I mean, I've been around drumsticks my entire life. It never dawned on me to tune drumsticks and create a stickophone. Where did the idea come from?
You know, you've been at the factory, right?
Yes, I have, at the Vic Firth factory. Yes.
I guess I hope it's not a secret, but I think you can go online and see some of the stick production, right? But one part is when they do the tuning on the sticks. I think it's like on 3 places where there's a hammer. The tapping.
The perfect pair. You know, they get the perfect pair because they match them. Which is something they've been doing for years, since the very beginning.
Yeah. And so I was standing at that machine, I had pop, 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 and thinking, oh, this. So I think it must be a way to do a little instrument of this. So I think the first thing I did was the Christmas video some years ago when I played Rudolph the Reindeer and on that one. And then now when Vic should be turned 90 some weeks ago, I did I play Happy Birthday or something on it. So, and I agree with you. What hits me is like we use drumsticks as a tool, but suddenly it's actually a nice instrument. And if you think of it, especially in a lot of ways, you see everybody try their sticks on the head or something to get the right pitch and so on. Thinking, you play with them.
I never thought of creating an instrument out of them. And I mean, it's just so brilliant. So we have a little clip of you doing, I think it's a duet, am I correct?
It's probably the one with Thomas Wingren. We have a group, or he has a group, he created a group called Soundscape Orchestra. And Thomas is a great inventor, making beautiful loops and samples, etc. So this is out in the kitchen here in my studio.
Oh, it's there in the kitchen.
That's why we did a video.
Okay. Well, we're going to hear it. Here it is, the stickophone.
It's a beautiful sound, right?
It's incredible, Anders. It's absolutely incredible. Like I said, I've been around sticks my whole life, and that never really dawned on me. And I stood in front of the same machine, and they're making the perfect pair, and you thought something so... It's just it's really amazing. And
I recommend to people who are looking for sounds, maybe with a percussion ensemble and different sounds. This is a beautiful sound. You need to have a good PA system though, so you don't need to play so loud. But that gives that kind of nice color on it. So contact me if you want one. Then Thomas can build one.
And I remember you brought it. You put it in your suitcase and you brought it. I think we were meeting up somewhere. And you said, Keith, you have to see this thing. And you pull it out of...
Of course.
Just to clarify, I mean, I saw it firsthand. It's all sticks. That is the sound of sticks. There's nothing... There's no secret. No. Yeah, I mean, you showed it. There it is.
Yeah. So it's really basically sticks.
It's just sticks.
Sticks, and then he found out how to, like you built the keyboard. So it's the white keys and the black keys. So
yeah. Well, all right. So let's talk about, you have a new line of mallets with the Vic Firth company, and let's chat about some of those. The orange series, the blue series. Tell me about the mallets themselves, and what is the difference between the orange and the blue series?
The blue, the orange is sort of what I've been using for years, kind of, with a little tweak, but there are, and then the blue, I would say the difference is that the blue are heavier, and because they are heavier, they give a little other color in the sound. And I have a tendency the last years to get into playing more and more heavy mallets. And nowadays, for personal use, I use the blue because I really like the weight. It means that you don't need to fight. The mallets can help you and play for you. That's how I feel about it. So, and I think it comes because I come from piano background. So you used to, I like that feel when you just the fingers are going this way and you don't need to wave so much, and the weight helps you to do that. That's how I feel about it. And I would say the orange, I really recommend it for percussion ensembles or mallet ensembles, because you stay in the same range of colors. So from the big bass mallet to the top, which is a wrapped silo mallet, you're still in the same kind of, you can say colors, right? And then the blue, I use it a little more for probably playing with other instruments, chambers, and behind singers, big bands, etc. They have, I was describing, they get even a little more fundamental in the bar. That's how I feel.
So the weight, you don't have to work so hard, is what I'm hearing. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have to work so hard, and it produces that core sound,
right?
Fundamental.
Yeah.
So
I'm so happy that I found this because I've been looking for that kind of. I always like that kind of sound and something that you can play both on marimba and vibe at the same time, and you don't need to switch. It's like, so I would say with this series, you cover a lot of things. You have a good bass mallet for the lower part. You have a mid part. You have upper range, and you have really the top range, and then you can mix and match, etc. So
yeah, and as I remember, there's a very hard. What color is that? Is it black, Anders?
yeah, that's called the 294. 294. That's what you're looking for. So it's yes. So it's a wrapped silo mallet basically.
Yeah, and that mallet sounds so good on xylophone.
Yeah,
I've used that in percussion ensemble. I've used it on wood blocks. I found your mallets to be incredibly diverse. I mean, you could, like you said, you could use them on vibes. You can use them on marimba. You can use them on
gongs.
Yeah, gongs.
Wood, yeah.
Yeah,
Especially the blue ones now, the new ones, really works great on gongs. I mean, not the biggest one, but when you have the mid-size and you have a setup and so on, so you don't need to change too much and so on. So yeah.
So I mean, they're just fantastic mallets for so many reasons. What is the handle? Is it
rattan?
Yeah, rattan. Yeah,
and I use that, and I know you can order them with birch as well, etc. So if you would like that, so which is great that you have all these possibilities. I mean, it's like for me to do all this stuff, it's like to go into the candy store, and I'm really honored, and I hope I do my work as an ambassador for the brand and for what the way they treat me. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the mallets themselves. I mean, the head is kind of on the larger size, and I know you spent a lot of time at the factory. Can you tell us about the creation process, how you created them, and what the process was when you designed mallets?
It's had sort of an idea and then tried to explain it. And I need to say Tim did that time was Neil Larrabee and Franny, I think. The three of them in a room with me and a marimba and a vibe. Totally. And I said, hey, I'm thinking this and this and this and this. And like, okay, give us a minute. Like, give us 10 minutes. Like, and then it's like, rapping. What do you think about this? Dong.
Wow. Yeah. So that quick. You describe the sound. They go away and they do their stuff, and then they come back and they have something.
Yeah, I mean, I had a reference from before, absolutely, and but it's they sort of understand where I would like to go, and I said I want something with weight, and want this and that, and like and I think it took two full days, and we were it was there.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, hopefully, what I did, I brought also my recording gear. So I have this Zoom R24 Pro with some mics, so I can record and I can listen back as well, because for me that tells a lot what you hear when you record, and that helps again come from Thomas, who built the stickophone. I also always get help from him, because sound engineers have good ears, and they can tell you, you see this, like you hear this, that you don't get the bass, but you get this, etc. So I learned tremendously a lot from them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, let's hear these things in action. These videos are incredible. This was my idea, and am I correct? You just recently recorded these.
Anne and my wife, helped me to standing with my phone and do all the different clips, and then thanks Scott Quaid, who put everything together, because I just send him all the videos and sounds and so. So you asked me about working with scales, right? So, and then I'm thinking, yeah, let's explain the mallets at the same time, because that's really what we do.
Right. So the impetus for this was Anders came out and did a presentation, and I've seen him in action many times. And when you teach scales, typically, Anders, you say, all right, bum 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 bum. You play the scale and and Anders came in and did a class, and he said something that kind of changed my life. He said, why would you play a scale and play it so rigid, And you said, I could just improvise on a C major scale. And you started playing in the key of C, and you made it, you were just playing scales, but you played it so beautifully, and you were just playing in the key of C, no other notes, and you created this improvisational piece based with just playing in the key of C. So you're practicing scales, but in such a way that is more enjoyable. I mean, I still think, in time and rhythm and so on is important, but you brought such a fresh and unusual and interesting approach to
thanks. But don't you think, I mean, all the years of teaching, and all of us have been through this, that we play scales. And when you say the word scales, I think 99.9% thinks up and down. and it's like, and I think especially for us in the percussion world, especially, I guess, if you come from a drumming point of view, and you have a little scared of the notes, it's like, okay, shaking, dum, 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 like you said, right? Mechanical.
Right, it's mechanical.
Yeah, and I call that confirm playing, that you would like to confirm every note, like to make sure, so you play them right. And then you speed up the tempo more and more. But then they are written the same thing in the piece. And suddenly, because it's written and has some, both, suddenly we play it very musical. But I don't think sometimes we even reflect that this is scale you play, because it's written in a piece.
Right.
So that started to trigger my brain to think it like the scale is a bunch of notes that you can do whatever you like with and go in any direction. So that's how it started.
Amazing. So we're going to hear a couple videos, one with the blue series and one with the orange series. So these are scales. And I loved how you put which mallet it was, the orange, which mallet it was.
That's thanks to Scott. He cleared that out.
Scott Quaid is our producer, and helps us with these things
outstanding
together.
person.
Unbelievable. And I think we have another one, the blue mallets, right? Is this?
Yeah. So yes, before we play the blue, so this is based on, for people who wonder what's going on. If you look from the left, there is the bass marimba part, and then in the middle there is the middle part of the marimba, and then it's the top part of the marimba. When I had the harder ones, so that means you can have 3 people on the marimba if you're a teacher. And what I really do is play like the root, the 5th, and the 7th, the 3rd on the first. If you put the C, the first chord you get on a C major scale is a C major 7, right? So you have the root, the 5th, and the 7th and the 3rd, and you can play dong, kling, gong, kling, gong, kling. Then you can just add up whatever notes you want and make some melodies. And I started to record the drums just to have a little fun with the metronome. You can do this with students if you want to and switch around, etc.
Here we go. That's great. So again, that was C major, except for the very end. Am I correct about that?
No, that was a little late. That was the next course. So there was it was a C major and a C Dorian.
I see.
Yeah. So everybody, to give the short theory here is like when you read about theory in schools, many times you see from C to C, you have major, D to D, you have Dorian, etc. And
Right.
Everybody's confused, right? What's what? So I'm thinking, what happened with the C major scale if you change things? So the difference between the C and major and C Dorian, the minor third and the flat seven. So that's I go with 4 bars between those things.
Yeah.
And if anyone is interested again, contact me. I have some sheets that they send out that you can work on.
Yeah, I was like, that's C major plus.
Yeah. But it's also a nice way to work. If you have would like to teach keyboard, I do this a lot just to get people to get into work with groove or all that kind of things and hear different things.
Well, I'll tell you, I have not heard scale practice ever sound that wonderful. I mean, it's just you look at things that we see every day, like a motorboat or a drumstick, and you just see it in a different way. You look at a scale and you find new ways to play it. It's just incredible. I mean, really, Anders, you are one of the most creative and just kind of brilliant people. I know. I mean, it's true.
Thank you.
You put a drum set in a boat and played a groove with the motor. I mean, I just thinking to myself, what sounds as I go home today do I hear or that I could jam with, So
that took me on another thing, because one time I got called from 2 people, really artists up north, and we went to Iceland, the island Iceland.
Yeah.
And there is no forest. They have no trees. So we imported, or they sent a boat with a lot of wood, because they spent a week to build 2 fire sculptures. Big sculptures built in wood and metal and so on. And then I flew in and I took 1 guy from the orchestra to help me to play, and we spread out a lot of metal stuff, etc., in the grass and put mics, and I put a mic in the grass so you can mic out the fire sculptures. And then they put fire on it, and especially on Iceland, the fire and all the fairy tales is very deep. It was filled up with people, and it was totally magic night, and there is the sculpture start to get on fire, and we improvise together with it. It's
wow.
And
You actually played on the sculpture.
No, we didn't play because it started going. So we play a little behind, and
Okay.
I took like brake drums, wood stuff, etc. So we were laying in the grass as well to improvise together with the fire sculpture. It's a very unique thing, and I think again that's the thing we can do as percussionists, right? It's so many different colors we can work with. It's incredible.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's keep going. We just have a few minutes left, but I want to talk about you also, in addition to being so creative, an improviser, you also write music, more standard notation.
Yeah.
And we have a cut of bell power. And just tell me, I mean, certain things you create and then they're kind of recorded, and that was a moment. And this is something a little more traditional. So, do you compose traditionally often, or and when I say traditional, where you're reading standard notation and a percussion ensemble piece, tell me about your inspiration for that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say almost the thing I write is based on traditional way of writing, but then you can always include elements of improvising. It totally depends on who you write for.
Yeah.
This piece, Bell Power, is our dear friend Jim Campbell, who always called me when he get like a basic concert and said, "Anders, you need to write a piece." I said, "How many players?" "Many." And I said, "What is?" And I think I remember this time I said, "What kind of other colored pieces do you have?" So it's not kind of you get in the same mood and so on. "Oh, I want something with the power." And I said, "What is the instrumentation you have on stage?" Because basically you have 50 minutes to play and you don't want like to move. So send me the list. So he sent me the list, and I say, "Can you add this and this?" And yep, sure. So, in my head, power, I'm thinking, I will use chimes, and then the allophone came out.
Yeah, that's right.
Plus, I'm thinking bass drum, a melody in the bass drum. That sounds good. So this really, I started to sing the rhythm and then I wrote down the bass drum rhythm, and that was the start for the whole piece. So
amazing. This piece is incredible. I was there live, and it blew me away. I've done it before with my ensemble. So let's, let's jump right into Bell Power and hear I think this is at PASIC, as I remember. So, Bell Power. So yeah, the melody is the bass drum is the melody there. It's amazing. And I should make a correction. That was not PASIC. That was, I would assume, at the University of Kentucky with Jim Campbell conducting.
Yeah, and it was Matthew Geiger was conducting.
Oh, it was Matt. Okay.
Yeah, because Jim always do this great thing that he said, like, take the score, it's yours.
Yeah,
that's the best way to learn.
well,
thanks, Jim. And thanks, Jim, for always kind of pushing me to write.
That's great. So that is more of your standard notation world. So gosh, I mean, we just went from, I'm just thinking this interview, we went from you playing on marimba bars that actually weren't marimba bars, they're from your deck with this beautiful natural background. We were on a boat. I mean, we just watched traditional a piece that's all written out. We listened to scales in a way that we've never heard them before, or at least I have never heard them before, in a way to, I mean, we've just, what a journey. I mean, Anders, really, it's...
Thank you. I think it's the life of music, right? It's, but it's also, I mean, all the inspiration, because I always I mean, I don't have the long tradition as you in the orchestra, but my first professional orchestra freelance gig, I was 20 years old, and I played with the Swedish Radio Symphony. And I did it for many years as a freelancer because my teacher was in that orchestra and said, hey, we need you here. It's like, and I remember that moment. And for many years, I was thinking I would be in an orchestra. But to be honest, then I always feel that something more is kind of, I want something more. So, and other possibilities showed up. So, plus I took them, of course. And I always been bringing a vibraphone everywhere I go, together with my drum set in the car. Yeah. So, try to just include things. But then when I start to travel, it was actually Michael Burrett told me, said, yeah. Anders, do you have pieces for yourself in percussion ensemble, for example? I said, no, you should write something. So he really opened the door and pushed me and said, hey, start to write. And I did. And from there, meeting a lot of different musicians and so on, conductors, I've been writing saxophone quartet, choir pieces, etc. So it's been an interesting and wonderful journey.
Yeah. I mean, it's just incredible. And I don't know if I'm ever going to hear a motorboat the same way again. Next time I go on a boat, I'm going to be thinking about you. So, Anders, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing, your creative spirit, your improvisational skills, all that you do, and the way really there is no pigeonhole for you. You are very unique and very special, and I'm so happy to call you my friend.
Thank you, and likewise. It's like we had so much fun together. So
yeah, I think that's why I gravitate towards you when we're at a convention or something. I'm always like hanging around with Anders because, I don't know, just maybe some of the creative energy will somehow come into me.
But I would say I see a very creative person in Interlochen with all these pieces I get on Facebook and so on. It's thanks for that, Keith. It's very inspirational. And you know what is so one of the biggest inspiration, I think, is like to see young kids.
Yeah. When
they get it and it's like, and they are totally into it, that energy. I hope I will always keep that energy. That really it gives a lot. It's incredible.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you. We're going to hear a little bit more of your playing, and we'll call it a day. Thank you again, Anders.
Thanks, Keith, and thanks again, Scott, for all the help.
Thank you, Scott.